There is a pain that moves within you like a silent river, ancient, familiar, yet oddly misplaced. You feel it during moments of stillness, in quiet sighs that escape without reason. But what if I told you? This pain isn't truly yours. What if it belongs to someone you used to be, someone you've already outgrown, a version of yourself still echoing through the corridors of time? We are not linear beings. We are multidimensional expressions of memory, energy, and intention. Your suffering, though present, may originate from a chapter long closed, not just in this life, but perhaps in others. Brian Weiss, through his work with past life regression, revealed that the soul holds on to imprints, looping pain across incarnations like echoes through vast chambers of consciousness. And within these echoes, we often confuse what we carry with who we are. But you are not your pain. You are the awareness that perceives it. You are the quiet witness behind the storm, untouched, eternal. The version of you who was hurt, abandoned, silenced, that version did the best it could. It adapted, endured, and survived. But it's not who you are anymore. Still, it left behind whispers, and those whispers, if unattended, become a chorus of suffering mistaken for identity. Close your eyes, breathe, go within. Ask yourself, whose pain is this? Is it yours now? Or is it the residue of a self who no longer needs it? When Brian Weiss guided people through hypnotic states, they often uncovered traumas not from this lifetime, but from others. Entire stories unfolding behind the veil of conscious memory. And yet those stories explained irrational fears, mysterious sadness, chronic guilt. Once seen, the pain would dissolve. Recognition brings release. Awareness breaks the cycle. So I ask you, are you ready to remember that the chains you feel are only echoes, not truths? That the wound you keep touching has already healed in spirit, even if the mind hasn't noticed? You do not need to keep suffering to prove your worth. You do not need to carry the emotional debts of someone you no longer are. There is a freedom in choosing to unburden, a sacred permission to step beyond the veil of identification, to look with compassion at the parts of you that hurt, not to fix them, but to love them into silence. The child within you, the past self within you, the forgotten soul fragments, they all seek peace. And peace does not come from understanding everything. It comes from embracing what is and gently letting go of what was. The soul remembers, but it also releases. Let these words be an invitation, not to analyze, but to feel, not to resist, but to soften. There is a version of you waiting beyond the pain, a version radiant, whole and clear, but it can only emerge when you stop clinging to what no longer serves. Begin now. Inhale the present. Exhale the past, and listen to the quiet voice beneath your thoughts. It knows you've already come far and that your healing is not ahead of you, but here, in this sacred moment. And if something in these words resonates, it's not by chance. It's memory awakening. Soul recognizing soul. If you feel called, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, not just to stay connected, but to honor this path of remembrance together. This is not content, this is communion. Time is not a straight line. It loops, spirals, folds inward. What we call the past is not behind us. It exists within us, embedded like seeds in the soil of our soul. Brian Weiss uncovered this truth through countless regressions, where people stepped beyond the veil of this present life and entered realms of memory that defy clocks and calendars. When someone lies back, breath deep and steady, eyes closed but consciousness open, a doorway appears, not to imagination but to memory. They speak of names they've never learned, places they've never been, eras long buried by centuries. They speak with emotion, detail, clarity, and always they carry something back. A wound, a lesson, a realization. These are not dreams, these are echoes. You carry such echoes too. Have you ever felt an emotion so strong it didn't make sense? A fear of water with no known origin? An unshakable sadness that does not belong to this life story. A pull toward a certain culture or time period you cannot explain. These are signs, not of fantasy, but of memory. And though you may not remember the lifetimes behind them, your body does. Your energy does. This is why healing is not always logical. You can dissect your childhood, rewrite your thoughts, meditate daily, and still feel bound by something unnamed. Because some of the pain you hold lives beyond the narrative of this life. And to release it, you must go deeper. Not into the mind, but into the soul. Time then becomes a tool, not a limit. In the language of the soul, the past can be healed now. You can sit with a memory from lifetimes ago and bring it peace. You can rewrite your inner world by choosing compassion for what was never fully seen, and by doing so, you alter not only the present, but the trajectory of your becoming. Weiss tells us, the soul returns not to suffer, but to resolve, to balance, to evolve. Each life is a classroom. Each wound, a lesson still being integrated. But no lesson needs to repeat once it has been fully felt and understood. That is the essence of liberation. Imagine just for a moment that your suffering is not punishment, but a message, a call from the soul to return to what was left unfinished, not with blame but with love. Imagine that every pain you feel is not a barrier, but a bridge. It leads you back to wholeness if you dare to cross it. This shift in perception changes everything. You're no longer a victim of time, but its alchemist. You take what was and turn it into wisdom. You touch what hurts and make it sacred. So begin to ask yourself, not why is this happening to me, but what is this asking me to remember? The question itself opens the door. The answer may not come in words, but in silence, in dreams, in subtle knowing. Trust it. You are not broken. You are in the middle of remembering yourself. And as you remember, you release. And as you release, you awaken. The journey is not linear, but it is always forward in spirit. There is a quiet chamber in the center of your chest, deeper than the physical heart, a place where soul memory resides. Not the memory of events or facts, but the vibration of what you've lived through countless lifetimes. Here, the imprint of every heartbreak, every act of love, every betrayal and every healing still pulses softly, waiting to be felt, not analyzed. Weiss often spoke of the emotional weight people carried without ever knowing its source. In regression, many discovered the origin of their anguish was not in childhood or trauma from this life, but in the unloved corners of their spirit, abandoned across time. When they entered the trance of remembrance, they didn't just see images, they felt a knowing. They wept without understanding why, and then they healed. Because the soul doesn't forget, but it can forgive. Within you lives an entire library of lifetimes, not stored in the mind, but in sensation, intuition, and the energy that dances quietly beneath the surface. When you feel inexplicably drawn to certain people or repelled by them, when a place feels like home though you've never stepped foot there, it is the soul remembering, recognizing, responding. And the pain you carry now, it may be the echo of a vow made in another life, a belief forged in suffering, a soul contract left incomplete. These are not metaphors but energetic truths. We carry them, often unknowingly, until life presents us with a mirror, a pattern, a trigger, a relationship that asks us to look inward. But to look inward without judgment is an act of sacred courage. It means facing the ache not as a flaw, but as a message. It means understanding that your panic, your loneliness, your shame may have nothing to do with this moment, but everything to do with what your soul still holds. To access that memory hidden in the heart, you must soften, not push, not search with force, but trust what arises when you become still. The heart speaks in symbols, in tears that come without explanation, in warmth that expands for no reason. This is how the soul speaks, and if you listen closely, it will guide you toward the exact memory you need to see. And when that memory surfaces, don't resist it. Greet it like an old friend. Thank it for surviving so long. Let it speak, cry, release. Because healing doesn't come from pushing away the past. It comes from witnessing it with presence and love. Weiss believed that when we reclaim these fragments of memory, we begin to feel whole again. Not because we found something new, but because we remembered what was always within us. We become less reactive, more compassionate, more free. Not because life gets easier, but because we stop fighting the tides of our own energy. You are not here to forget your past selves. You are here to integrate them, to offer them sanctuary in your current breath, to tell them, you are safe now, I've got you. And in doing so, the pain begins to lift, not instantly, but deeply, genuinely, lastingly. So go gently into the space within. Let your heart become the healer of your history. You have always held the key. Now is the time to remember the door. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment you stop seeking answers outside yourself and start listening inward. The pain that once defined you begins to shift. The need to fix, to chase, to prove, softens, and a new truth rises like mist from ancient waters. You are the healer you've been waiting for. Weiss often emphasized this truth. His work was not about becoming dependent on regression or therapy. It was about remembering that the soul already knows what it needs to heal, if only we allow it the silence and trust to do so. You are not broken, you are remembering. And healing is not about becoming something else, but returning to the essence of who you've always been. The pain that persists is not asking to be eliminated. That's asking to be understood. It is a signal from your inner world, from the fragments of your being still yearning for integration. And while others can guide you, no one can walk the path for you. That sacred journey inward, toward the root of your suffering, toward the light behind it, is yours alone. And this is where your power lives. Perhaps in another lifetime, you gave your power away. Perhaps you were silenced, betrayed, erased. Perhaps you learned to mistrust your voice, your gifts, your truth. And though this life may not hold those same circumstances, the residue lingers. Until you remember, until you reclaim. Reclaiming doesn't mean forcing confidence. It means turning toward your pain with tenderness, curiosity, and a deep inner yes. It means allowing the tears to come when they arrive. It means breathing through discomfort without judgment. It means listening to the small voice inside, the one you've silenced, and letting it speak again. This is the work of a healer, and it is sacred. Weiss often said that healing can happen in an instant or over many lifetimes. There is no one pace, no perfect process, only presence. Only permission. When someone remembers a past life in which they died alone, they often cry not just for that version of themselves, but for the lonely places within them now. And something releases. A burden lifts. Not because the story changed, but because it was finally seen. This is the alchemy of awareness. You don't need a dramatic awakening. You don't need to understand every detail of your past. You only need to open a little more each day, to sit with yourself in truth, to let love reach the parts of you that feel unlovable. The healer you are is not distant. It is not in another lifetime. It is here in your breath, in your stillness, in your presence. And in this presence, something remarkable happens. The past softens. The future opens, and the now becomes enough. You realize you are no longer the one who was hurt. You are the one who can hold the hurt with compassion. You are the medicine. You are the light. You are the witness, the container, the sanctuary. You are, and always have been, whole. So come back to yourself, not with urgency, but with reverence. Hold your heart like a sacred object. Let every breath remind you that you are safe, seen, and sovereign. You have everything you need. You are everything you need. You are not just on a path of healing. You are the path itself. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when something within you exhales. Not your lungs, but your soul. It is the moment when you realize you don't need to carry it anymore. Not the guilt. Not the shame. Not the stories that no longer reflect who you are. You've honored the past. You've listened to its whispers. And now, you are free to release it. Weiss taught that remembrance is the doorway, but release is the liberation. The soul does not cling, it only waits for you to be ready to see, to forgive, to surrender. And now, you are ready. You've walked through the chambers of your inner world. You've seen shadows not as threats but as signposts. You felt echoes that once controlled you begin to lose their grip. And most importantly, you've begun to trust the quiet voice inside, the voice of your soul, patient and wise. What if the purpose of your pain was to lead you here? What if every lifetime, every version of you, was guiding you toward this precise moment? The moment you stop running, stop resisting, and begin remembering that you are light. You don't have to carry the identity of the one who suffered. You can bless them, thank them, hold space for them. But you don't have to become them again. The patterns you once called destiny are now choices. The beliefs you once wore as armor are now relics. The pain you once thought defined you is only a reflection, not your truth. Take a breath. Deeper now, with intention. As you inhale, feel yourself gathering the scattered pieces of your being, past selves, past lives, forgotten fragments. As you exhale, let go of the burdens, the roles, the loops. Let go of the need to understand it all. You are not here to master the mind. You are here to remember the soul. Weiss often reminded us, the soul's wisdom transcends time. You've known love before. You've known freedom. You've known peace. You're not seeking something new. You're returning to what has always been. Let that remembrance settle into your bones. You are not your story. You are the awareness writing it anew. You are not your pain. You are the witness healing through it. You are not the past version of yourself. You are the integration of all you've ever been, rising now into presence. And in that presence, you discover something sacred. You were never alone. Not in your suffering, not in your searching. Others walk this path too, quietly, courageously. Souls remembering, just like you. We find one another through resonance, through shared awakenings, through messages like this one. So let this be more than words. Let this be a key, a moment of shift, a deep remembering. And if these words touched your soul, if something inside you stirred with recognition, then I invite you, not as content but as communion, to subscribe to this channel. Not to consume more, but to walk together. And click on the video that just appeared on your screen. It was chosen especially for you. I know you'll love it, because your soul guided you here, and it knows where to lead you next.